nobody wanted, until a human mechanic made it rule the galaxy. Among the towering alien empires, the powerful corporations, and the fleets of warships that patrolled star systems, humans were rarely taken seriously. Most aliens saw humans as fragile, unpredictable, and primitive. But Eli knew something they did not. Humans had a stubbornness that no amount of technology, power, or experience could break. And stubbornness, as he often reminded himself, was a kind of power. Eli's days were spent in the outer rims of the galaxy, a place where forgotten star systems and derelict ships drifted in silence. He repaired old cargo vessels, scavenged spare parts, and made a modest living. It was a life most would call boring or insignificant. But Eli did not care. Out here, away from the crowded cores of the galaxy, he could work in peace and dream in silence. One gray, cold morning, while scanning a cluster of abandoned asteroid docks, Eli's sensors picked up a strange energy reading. It was faint but powerful, different from any derelict he had seen before. Curiosity burned inside him, and he set course immediately. When Eli's small ship, the Rust Finder, emerged from the asteroid field, he froze. Towering before him was a battleship unlike any other. Its hull was scarred and rusted, with deep gashes from old battles, and massive portions of its outer plating hung loose like broken teeth. This ship had been abandoned for decades, maybe centuries. The legends he had heard as a child whispered of such ships, long forgotten in the aftermath of galactic wars. This was one of them, a giant, once feared battleship that had terrorized entire fleets, now left to rot. Alien traders and scavengers had passed it by. Rumors claimed the ship was cursed, that any who tried to command it met a terrible fate. No one wanted it, everyone had given up. Eli, however, felt a spark of excitement. He leaned forward, eyes bright with determination. "Nobody wants it," he muttered. "Then I will." Docking was risky. The ship's docking clamps were damaged, and parts of the hull threatened to collapse at the slightest touch. Eli moved with caution, carefully maneuvering the Rust Finder alongside a partially broken airlock. He suited up and floated inside, magnetic boots clanging against the hull. The corridors were dark and silent. Dust swirled in shafts of light from his helmet. Rust crunched underfoot, and the faint smell of burnt circuits hung in the air. "Looks worse than I imagined," muttered Eli. Yet every broken system, every scar on the walls, every flickering console spoke to him not of decay but of potential. This ship had power in its bones. It had history, and Eli was going to bring it back. He spent hours examining the command center. The main console was offline, and the AI core, once the brain of the ship, was cold and silent. The wiring was mangled, and several critical circuits had been scorched by what he guessed were old energy blasts. It would take weeks, maybe months, to bring it back to life. Most people would have walked away. Most aliens would have laughed and called him foolish. But Eli only smiled. Over the next several days, he scouted the ship, mapped its systems, and salvaged what he could. He patched minor leaks in the hull and reactivated emergency power. The ship groaned as it settled after centuries of inactivity. "You've been sleeping too long," Eli whispered, patting a console with care. "Time to wake up." Eli knew he could not do this alone. He sent encrypted messages across nearby stations, carefully recruiting a small team. Some were engineers who had been fired or forgotten. Others were mechanics who had nowhere else to go. All of them were humans, and all of them had something to prove. Together, they began towing the massive battleship to a hidden asteroid bay, a place no one would find them. The first challenge was immense. The ship had no active propulsion. Its enormous mass made it difficult to maneuver, and the slightest miscalculation could tear it apart. Eli and his team rigged powerful tugs and improvised stabilizers. Days turned into nights and nights into days. They barely slept. Some crew members complained, some wanted to give up, but Eli never wavered. "Every scar on this ship tells a story," he said one night as they huddled near a temporary power source. "And every scar can be fixed. We just need patience and brains. And we've got both." By the time they reached the asteroid bay, the ship was partially stabilized. Its hull was patched enough to prevent it from breaking apart, and Eli could finally begin serious repairs. The crew set to work, cleaning circuits, patching wiring, and replacing damaged panels. Eli's hands were covered in grease and burns, but he barely noticed. He worked like a man possessed. The biggest challenge, however, was the ship's AI. It had once been the most advanced in the galaxy, a self-learning intelligence capable of commanding entire fleets. Now, it lay dormant, its memory banks corrupted, its logic circuits fragmented. Eli studied it carefully, tracing circuits, rewiring nodes, and improvising replacements from scavenged components. Hours turned into days and days into weeks. The AI was temperamental. Sometimes it sparked, sometimes it hissed, sometimes it refused to respond. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the AI began to stir. Lights flickered on. A faint hum of power filled the corridors. One morning, Eli touched the main console and spoke softly. "Hello." For a moment, nothing happened. Then a mechanical voice echoed through the empty hall. "System activating, parameters unknown." Eli froze, heart racing. "You're alive," he whispered. "You just needed a human touch." The AI hesitated, processing its voice cautious. "Human presence detected. User identified." "Eli Vance," he said proudly. "Mechanic, builder. And now I guess your new captain." The AI made a low whirring noise, almost like a laugh. "Captain Eli Vance. Not authorized." Eli smiled. "We'll fix that together." Over the next few weeks, Eli taught the AI to trust him. He fed it data, patched its memory, and coaxed it to awaken fully. The ship began to respond to commands. Thrusters fired, shields hummed, and weapon systems powered up. The battleship was no longer abandoned, it was alive, and it was listening to a human. Word began to spread, quietly at first, that something extraordinary was happening in the outer rims. Alien scouts occasionally drifted near the asteroid bay, curious about strange energy signatures. Each time, Eli and the AI found clever ways to hide their progress. The galaxy did not yet know that a human mechanic was raising a ship that had once ruled the stars. One evening, Eli stood on the bridge, overlooking the stars. The AI, now fully awake, had begun conversing with him more freely, analyzing the galaxy's systems and suggesting improvements. "You are resourceful," it said. "Unpredictable, efficient, superior in problem-solving." Eli grinned. "I told you, we humans are full of surprises." The ship shuddered as a minor system test caused a shockwave in the hull. Sparks flew from consoles, and the crew rushed to stabilize critical circuits. Eli laughed, brushing off the fear in the pit of his stomach. "Just a warm-up," he said. "We're going to do much bigger things." And he meant it. By the end of the first month, the battleship had begun to take shape. Its once corroded hull gleamed faintly under newly applied armor, and its engines responded to commands. The AI, fully awake, had begun to recognize Eli as its master, not because of rank, but because of sheer ingenuity. The galaxy outside remained unaware. Out here, in the forgotten edges of space, a human was quietly performing the impossible. He was taking a ship that everyone else had abandoned and preparing it to challenge the very powers that ruled the stars. Eli knew the road ahead would not be easy. Alien fleets would come. Saboteurs would try to destroy what he had rebuilt. He would need to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast them all. But for now, he allowed himself a rare moment of pride. He had woken a giant from its slumber, and when this battleship roared to life fully, no one, alien or human, would ever doubt humanity again. As the asteroid bay hummed with activity, Eli looked at the stars, imagining the battles yet to come. The galaxy was full of challenges, but he felt ready. With his skill, his stubbornness, and his human mind, he had a secret weapon no one could predict. And it all started with a ship that nobody wanted, until now. The first spark of legend had begun. The battleship was awake. Its engines hummed with life, its weapon systems were primed, and its AI now regarded Eli Vance not just as a human, but as a captain, a master, and a partner. Yet for all the progress, the galaxy remained unaware, or perhaps unwilling to believe, that a human had taken command of a legendary warship. Eli stood on the bridge, eyes scanning the countless stars ahead. The asteroid bay was quiet for now, giving him the perfect moment to plan. He had spent weeks repairing systems, awakening the AI, and training his small human crew. Now it was time to see what this ship could truly do. "Test the engines at 20%, Eli ordered. His voice carried confidence, but inside a spark of excitement burned. He had never piloted a ship of this magnitude before. "Engines at 20%, Captain," the AI responded. Its voice was calm but analytical. "Core integrity stable, power flow optimal. Preliminary maneuvers can commence." The battleship lurched gently, as if stretching after a long sleep. Eli's crew cheered quietly, not wanting to disturb the fragile harmony of their new giant. They had seen miracles before, but nothing like this. Eli smiled. "Not bad, old girl, not bad at all." Over the next several days, the crew conducted systematic tests. Weapon systems responded to commands with precision. Shields activated and adjusted automatically to simulated attacks. Navigation systems worked flawlessly, guiding the ship through the asteroid field with ease. Every test proved one thing: this ship was more than a relic. It was a weapon, a fortress, and a marvel of engineering all in one. But the galaxy was not patient. Word of strange energy signatures near the outer rim reached alien factions. Some dismissed it as a sensor glitch. Others, the more cautious or greedy, investigated. It was only a matter of time before someone arrived. The first confrontation came sooner than expected. A small alien scouting vessel slipped silently into the asteroid field. Its sensors locked onto the battleship almost immediately. Eli noticed the vessel on the tactical display and called out, "AI, analyze. Who is it?" "Unknown alien craft," the AI replied. "Weapons active. Likely reconnaissance. Minimal threat at present. Engagement recommended only if provoked." Eli considered. The scouts had no reason to attack yet, they only wanted information. But information, once discovered, spread fast. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," he said. "And keep the shields at maximum." The alien ship fired a scanning pulse. The battleship's sensors flickered, analyzing the craft in detail. Eli watched the display carefully. The aliens were cautious but intelligent. They were measuring, calculating, deciding whether this ship was worth further attention. Eli smirked. Humans had an advantage the aliens rarely considered: unpredictability. While the aliens calculated probabilities, he made choices instinctively, guided by experience and intuition. "Let's give them a little surprise," he muttered. With a few quick commands, Eli rerouted power from secondary systems to the main engines, and the battleship lurched forward. The asteroid field became a maze, but the battleship moved with grace, weaving through rocks and debris. The alien scouts struggled to keep up. Their sensors, calibrated for predictable patterns, were confused by the sudden maneuvers. "Impressive," the AI noted. "Human intuition exceeds predicted efficiency." "Don't get used to compliments," Eli replied with a grin. "I've got work to do." The alien ship retreated, sending a warning signal before disappearing. Eli knew it was only the first of many attempts. Others would come, and they would not be so cautious. But he also knew that with the ship and his ingenuity, humans had a fighting chance. Over the following weeks, Eli continued to push the battleship. He tested new weapons, improvised modifications, and upgraded the AI's protocols. Each day revealed new capabilities buried deep in the ship's core, old technologies that the galaxy had long forgotten. The crew grew to respect him more with each successful test. These humans, once dismissed and underestimated, were now the ones running a ship that could challenge fleets. They worked tirelessly, repairing, upgrading, and innovating. One night, while reviewing system diagnostics, Eli noticed an anomaly in the ship's propulsion. A deep-core engine had been damaged in some ancient battle, its capacity reduced. Most humans or aliens would have seen it as a limitation. Eli saw an opportunity. AI, reroute auxiliary power through the damaged core. I want to see what we can do. The AI hesitated. Captain, risk of core failure significant, likely catastrophic damage. Eli's eyes gleamed. Exactly why I want to do it. Nothing great was ever built by playing it safe. Hours of careful calculations and manual adjustments later, the engine roared to life. It hummed with raw power, pushing the battleship faster than ever before. The human crew cheered, and even the AI seemed impressed. Core efficiency exceeds projections, it admitted. Your method's unorthodox, effective. Eli laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. But as the battleship's reputation began to grow, so did the threats. Alien factions sent spies, saboteurs, and even small raiding fleets to investigate the strange human-led vessel. Each encounter tested Eli and his crew. They faced ambushes in asteroid belts, boarding attempts on repair bays, and attempts to hack the ship's systems. Eli met every challenge with ingenuity. When a small alien boarding party attempted to breach the asteroid bay, he lured them into a trap. Using improvised force fields and the ship's automated defenses, he neutralized the intruders without losing a single human life. Not bad for a human, said one of his engineers, a tall, nervous man named Jerk. I thought we'd lose half the bay. Eli shook his head. Humans don't fight like others. We improvise, we adapt, and we don't give up. The battleship, once abandoned and unwanted, now became a symbol of human ingenuity. Its AI, learning from Eli, began to anticipate threats before they arrived, suggesting maneuvers and tactics that no alien fleet could predict. Every encounter, every test, only strengthened the bond between human and machine. Months passed, and Eli's ambitions grew. He realized that the galaxy, with all its empires and factions, was not ready for a human-led battleship. But he also knew that preparation was key. Each day spent upgrading, testing, and strategizing made him stronger, smarter, and more formidable. One evening, as he looked out from the bridge, the AI spoke quietly. Captain, based on current trajectory, your influence could extend across multiple star systems within years. Eli's eyes narrowed. Years, you say? We don't have to wait that long. The AI paused. Tactical advantage may be realized sooner. Enemy fleets underestimate human capacity for unpredictability. Probability of victory high if executed correctly. Eli smiled. Then let's make our move. Not to conquer, but to prove ourselves. The galaxy needs to see what humans can do. The first fleet to challenge him arrived sooner than expected. A coalition of alien raiders, hearing rumors of the human battleship, attempted to destroy it before it could grow stronger. Eli stood on the bridge, calm but focused. His crew, now trained and confident, looked to him for guidance. Remember, he said, they know the rules. We make new ones. Humans don't follow patterns, they create them. The battle was intense. Lasers streaked across the void, missiles exploded in silent flashes, and the human crew moved with precision and creativity. Eli directed the ship with instinct and ingenuity, using its advanced systems in ways the aliens had never anticipated. He lured enemy ships into asteroid traps, overloaded their shields with carefully timed energy bursts, and deployed countermeasures in unpredictable patterns. By the end of the engagement, the raiders were forced to retreat. The battleship, though scratched and battered, had survived. Eli's crew cheered, their spirits soaring. And across the galaxy, whispers began. A human had mastered an abandoned ship, turning it into a weapon no one could control or predict. Eli knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would come for them, curious or hostile. But he also knew something the aliens would never understand. Human creativity, intuition, and stubbornness were forces no technology could match. And with the battleship by his side, humanity had a chance to prove it. As the stars stretched endlessly before him, Eli felt the first taste of true power. Not the power of fleets or weapons, but the power of a human mind applied to impossible challenges. He smiled. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. And they would soon learn. Humans were not to be underestimated. The first chapter of a human-led empire built on ingenuity and courage was taking shape. And Eli Vance, the mechanic who nobody believed in, was at its center. Eli Vance had expected resistance, but nothing could have prepared him for the full weight of the galaxy. Word of the human-led battleship spread like wildfire. Whispers reached every corner of known space. A human mechanic had awakened a forgotten warship, and it had survived encounters that would have destroyed even the most advanced fleets. Eli stood on the bridge, looking at the tactical display. Multiple fleets were converging from different sectors. The aliens had learned quickly. Some were curious, some were cautious, but most were aggressive. All wanted to see or destroy the ship that humans were said to command. "Captain," the AI said, its voice calm but precise, "enemy fleets approaching from the Delta and Gamma sectors. Combined strength exceeds any recorded in the region. Estimated probability of direct engagement without losses, low." Eli leaned forward, eyes scanning the holographic star map. "Then we won't fight directly. Not yet. We'll make them dance to our rhythm. Humans always find a way." The first fleets arrived at the edges of the asteroid field. Their ships were sleek alien designs optimized for speed, firepower, and numbers. They assumed Eli would act predictably, like any human leader in history, aggressive, defensive, cautious. But Eli had learned long ago that humans excel where patterns fail. He wasn't predictable. "Prepare tactical holograms," Eli ordered. "We'll make them think they have the advantage." The crew scrambled to comply. Advanced projectors, patched from salvaged alien tech and human improvisation, projected multiple copies of the battleship across space. Sensors detected dozens of ships where only one existed. Lasers fired at illusions, missiles targeted decoys, and the alien fleets hesitated, uncertain which target was real. "Humans are unpredictable," the AI murmured. "This tactic effective." "Effective and fun," Eli replied, grinning. The first wave of attacks came in earnest. Enemy ships focused on what they believed to be the real battleship. Eli used the ship's unique engines to dart unpredictably between asteroid cover, weaving through narrow gaps that no alien ship could safely navigate. The AI anticipated trajectories, calculated the best angles, and suggested maneuvers. Eli followed instinct as much as strategy, blending human improvisation with the ship's advanced systems. A missile streaked toward the ship's side. Eli flicked a switch, redirecting power to an experimental shield. The missile hit, but the energy field absorbed the impact, leaving the hull unscathed. The crew cheered, adrenaline pumping. "Not bad for humans," an alien voice transmitted on open frequencies. "We underestimated you. Surrender and we may spare your lives." Eli laughed, leaning back in his chair. "Humans don't surrender. We adapt, we learn, and we win." Over the next several hours, Eli orchestrated a symphony of maneuvers. Enemy ships were funneled into asteroid corridors, decimated by controlled energy bursts, and forced into retreats. Every fleet underestimated his ingenuity. Every calculation they made failed to account for human creativity. By the end of the day, the once mighty alien squadrons had been humbled. News of the battleship's victories spread across the galaxy. Aliens who had once dismissed humans as weak or chaotic now whispered with respect, fear, or awe. Eli Vance, the human mechanic, was no longer just a name. He was a symbol, a proof that humans were capable of thinking, building, and fighting on a level no one had expected. But power brought new challenges. Some alien leaders, unwilling to accept human dominance, began forming coalitions. Fleets far larger and more dangerous than anything Eli had yet faced were on the move. They were determined to eliminate the human threat before it grew too strong. Eli knew the time had come to reveal the ship's full potential. The battleship was no longer just a repaired relic. It was a masterpiece of engineering, enhanced by human intuition, and now, ready for war on a scale the galaxy had never seen. "Prepare full system activation," he ordered. "All experimental modules online, shield enhancements, weapon recalibrations, engine overdrive." The crew worked feverishly. Systems that had lain dormant for centuries hummed to life. Energy surged through the hull, weapons glowed with deadly intensity, and shields shimmered in protective arcs around the ship. The AI, fully integrated with Eli's commands, now acted like a conductor in an orchestra of destruction, anticipating every move of the incoming fleets. When the alien coalition arrived, they expected a challenge. What they encountered was something far beyond expectation. The battleship moved with impossible speed, weaving between the combined fleets with precision and unpredictability. Lasers, missiles, and energy pulses struck in patterns that seemed random, but were carefully calculated by the AI and executed by Eli's instinct. Enemy ships collided, retreated, and surrendered. Entire squadrons were neutralized without the battleship sustaining a single serious hit. "Captain," the AI said almost reverently, "your tactics have redefined conventional engagement parameters. Probability of success maximum." Eli smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "I told you, humans create new rules. We don't follow the old ones." By the end of the battle, the alien coalition had been shattered. Their leaders transmitted messages of surrender, offers of alliance, and grudging respect. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humanity was not a species to underestimate. One human, with determination, skill, and creativity, had turned an abandoned ship into a force capable of reshaping the balance of power. But Eli had no desire for conquest. His goal was not domination, it was respect. He sent messages to alien empires explaining that humans could be allies, innovators, and peacekeepers. He demonstrated the battleship, might not to threaten but to prevent needless wars. Slowly, alien leaders began to listen. Trade agreements, defensive alliances, and joint exploration missions were proposed. The galaxy, once divided and chaotic, started to recognize humanity's value, not just as soldiers, but as thinkers, builders, and problem solvers. Eli's human crew became legends in their own right. Engineers, pilots, and strategists who had once been overlooked now served on the bridge and across the galaxy, showing that human ingenuity was not limited to one individual. They shared techniques, built new ships, and taught alien civilizations to value creative thinking over brute force. One evening, after months of diplomacy and preparation, Eli stood on the bridge, looking at the stars. The battleship, once abandoned and unwanted, now gleamed in the asteroid bay, a symbol of human achievement. The AI, fully awakened and loyal, hovered in holographic form beside him. "Captain," it said, "the galaxy has recognized humanity's potential. Your efforts have altered the course of interstellar relations. Humans are now respected." Eli nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "It wasn't just me. It was all of us, humans, together. We proved that we can take what's broken, what's forgotten, and make it stronger than anything the galaxy has ever seen." The AI hummed in agreement. "Logical assessment, true. Human resilience, creativity, and adaptability exceed all initial predictions." Eli smiled. "Let them study us. Let them try to understand. But no one will ever underestimate humans again." As the battleship prepared for its next mission, Eli knew the galaxy was changing. Old empires were learning to respect human ingenuity. Alien leaders were adjusting their strategies. And humans, once dismissed and underestimated, were finally being recognized for what they truly were: unpredictable, resourceful, and unstoppable when driven by purpose. The abandoned starship, now fully revived, stood as a monument to human determination. It had been left to rot, ignored and unwanted. But with a human mind at its helm, it had become a force that no one could ignore. Eli looked out at the stars, imagining the future. There would be challenges, new threats, and unknown dangers. But for the first time, humanity had a chance to shape the galaxy, not through fear or conquest, but through creativity, courage, and ingenuity. And for Eli Vance, the human mechanic who had brought the ship back to life, that was more than enough. He had proven that humans could rise from nothing, achieve the impossible, and change the course of history. The galaxy would never forget it. The legend of the abandoned starship and the human who made it rule the galaxy had only just begun.